This is T just saying. So WWE is gonna have their next pay-per-view called Wrestlemania Backlash. I don't just call it Backlash like they've been doing for years now. So they decided to call it WrestleMania Backlash, whatever. Um, so far WWE has about 2 matches. They got Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre versus Braun Strowman for a triple threat match for the WWE Championship, and Bianca Belair versus Bayley for the WWE Women's Championship. Now, WWE, they have a long time to develop this pay per view. It's such a long time away. It's going to take place March 16th, 2021. I also created a WrestleMania Backlash card as well. It's not called WrestleMania Backlash. It's just called Backlash. I'm just assuming this was the next pay per view. So I did a card about the matches I have for WrestleMania. So what I did was I just continue on my card that I had for WrestleMania. So I brought it to Backlash. So my card has 2, 4, 6. It has 8 matches. It has a pre-show. For the pre-show, I have for the Women's Tag Team Championships, I had Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus the Iconics. Now, many people in the wrestling universe should know is that the Iconics that got released. So, again, I wrote this list before WrestleMania. So I wasn't expecting the Iconics to be released. But I did expect that, okay, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler is picking on, it's not Peyton Royce, Billy Kay on SmackDown, because Billy Kay is trying to be recruited into Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler's group. And what happened is that Nia Jax picks on Billy Kay like every week. And then they go on to Raw because the Women's Tag Team Championships the champions can appear on either Raw or SmackDown. So what I had was, okay, they can pick on Billy Kay on SmackDown, and then Peyton Royce, she confronts them, talking about why you picking on my friend, and then all this other stuff, blah blah blah. And then we have a match, WrestleMania Backlash. The Iconics, they can find some way. They can find some way to put them on the same show. Versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and I have the Iconics winning this match, and the Iconics become the Women's Tag Team Champions. But apparently that didn't happen. SmackDown Tag Team Championships, I have the Usos. The Usos are the Tag Team Champions. So what I had at WrestleMania was that the Usos will win the Tag Team titles. And they will defend them against Rey Mysterio and Dominic. So, father and son duel versus brother and brother duel. So they can have like the back and forth stuff going on between the Usos and Rey and Dominic, and they could really put some story on this. Like, if they win, Rey and Dominic will win. They'll be like the first father and son duel to become tag team champions. I think that could get a lot of people to watch SmackDown. But WWE, they had Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode still be tag team champions, and I don't know what they're doing with Rey Mysterio and Dominic, and I don't know why they don't have Jimmy back on SmackDown. But I think this would be a pretty good story, talking about how father and son become tag team champions. And you don't have to even involve the Street Profits. I see the Street Profits gets involved in tag team title matches all the time. They've been tag team champions. Let them sit back a little bit and fight against other tag teams. I think that kind of worked. And then we have the Intercontinental Championship. WrestleMania, they had Big E lose the Intercontinental Championship to Apollo Crews. I think thinking about it now, I think that's a good decision that Apollo Crews is the Intercontinental Champion. I kind of was thinking maybe hold off a little bit, but I actually had Big E retain the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, and it's going to be a fatal 4-way for the Intercontinental Championship. I have Big E versus Apollo Crews versus Sami Zayn versus Cesaro. Now, the way I look at it, it looks like Cesaro might get a Universal Championship match. I think that's the wrong decision. I've seen how Cesaro interacts now, and it's not really good. So I say push him up a little bit, but don't push him to the championship. Because look, Cesaro never been Intercontinental Champion. Never been. He's been with the company for 10 years or something. I think he's been there longer than that, but he never been Intercontinental Champion. So we gonna have a fatal 4-way for the Intercontinental Championship, and Big E wins. Then we have the Raw Women's Championship. I did not have Rhea Ripley winning the Women's Championship at WrestleMania. I think that was a big decision, a wrong decision for them to actually do, because even though Rhea Ripley was on NXT and she hasn't been on any TV for a while, you have to introduce the audience to Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley just out of nowhere, she shows up and she gets a title match and she wins. I would have kept the belt on Asuka, and her opponent would be Alexa Bliss. So we got the Raw Women's Championship, Asuka versus Alexa Bliss, because Alexa Bliss did beat Asuka probably a couple of months ago. They had a match. Alexa Bliss wins and she gets nothing for it. So I would say give Alexa Bliss the Raw Women's Championship. I have Alexa Bliss win this match and become the new Raw Women's Champion, because I think Alexa Bliss is a hot commodity right now. But right now, I don't know what they're doing, because she's on Raw, so Raw doesn't have anything where they're going. I don't know where they're going with people on Raw. Every match they have on Raw, I don't know where they're going with this. But I think it would have been better, since Alexa Bliss is pretty much she's the most popular woman on Raw. Have her fight against Asuka, and have Asuka lose the belt to Alexa Bliss. Let Alexa Bliss become the Raw Women's Champion. And we got a match between Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins. I put this down. Seth Rollins could complain about Daniel Bryan. Keep Daniel Bryan out of the championship picture. I think it'd be better, and then I have Daniel Bryan win this match against Seth Rollins, because this is probably a way to turn Seth Rollins a face, because so far Cesaro beat him at WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan's gonna beat him at Backlash, so we can have a story between them. The Universal Championship, I had Edge. Edge wins the championship, so I had Edge win at WrestleMania, and I have Edge actually defending the championship against Christian. As we know, Christian is not in WWE no more. He's actually on AEW now. Again, I wrote this list before WrestleMania, so I didn't expect Christian to actually go to AEW. So I had Edge versus Christian. Christian becomes jealous of Edge, saying that all these concussions, I could be champion, all this other stuff. So this can be jealousy, have a rivalry between them, and have them fight. And Edge will retain the title, and then at the end, Christian and Edge, they hug and shake hands, and kind of have a happy ending. Then the next match I had was the number one contendership for the United States Championship, and it's going to be Elias versus Braun Strowman. Now, WrestleMania Backlash right now, it has Braun Strowman going for the WWE Championship. To me, I don't care too much about Braun Strowman. I think WWE ruined him, but they need to start rebuilding Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman, the guy, he went to the gym and he start working out, and he got an impressive body. But here's the thing, WWE hasn't been really been too kind to people on Raw. So I would say I had Elias host WrestleMania. So that can be like, okay, like Elias can be like, well, I hosted WrestleMania. I get no opportunities because Elias never won a championship. So he's just like Cesaro, except Cesaro's been there longer. So Elias never been U.S. champion, never been Intercontinental champion, world champion, all this other stuff. He been 24/7 champion, but that belt's really not relevant. So I had a number one contendership for the United States Championship. To give the United States Championship belt some relevance, I actually had the champion who is not Riddle, who is not Sheamus, but the United States champion I had was Jeff Hardy. I had Jeff Hardy win the championship at WrestleMania. Jeff Hardy could come out, do some commentary, but I had Jeff Hardy being the heel, so Jeff Hardy's going to be like, in the heelish mode. And at the end, I'm going to have Elias win and start pushing Elias. And then the WWE Championship. This is the only one that was correct for the WWE match and my match, but they made it a triple threat match. I had was Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. Now, at my WrestleMania card, I had the WWE Championship. I had Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. This time, I'm having Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. And Bobby Lashley will win the championship. So Bobby Lashley will still be WWE Championship. I'm WWE Champion, and this will be the main event. So right now, I don't know how WWE is going to put together their WrestleMania Backlash card. I'm not really too high about it. But the card I put together, man, is way, way different than what's going to be the card that WWE is going to put together. I wish WWE would just, all of a sudden just, start building up stories. But I seen Raw yesterday, and they really didn't build anything. It was just like, okay, like, just come on the show and wrestle. So that's basically how I had my WrestleMania card. I had no Randy Orton. Randy Orton's not on here. I had Randy Orton, with the Fiend and stuff. But that's pretty much my card. And like, subscribe. I really appreciate it. And this is T just saying, see ya.